Okay, do you see the button?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we're recording. Okay, I wanted to let everybody know I'll send an email out to Meetup as well that I have 2 night sky workshops left for this season. And one is this coming Friday in Westcliff. And I'm pretty much wide open on that one. So anybody interested can let me know. Also, next week on the 24th is my last one for this season at the Paint Mines, and there are 3 spots left for that one. So either one, if you're interested, let me know. And tonight we are going to split the presentation between myself and Bob Falcone and Jim Van Hoy. And we've elected that I'm going to go first, and it had nothing to do with the fact that, as Bob said, it's my meeting.
It had everything to do with that.
No, nothing at all. So no, it's just everything to do with my portion being the shortest. So, but short, but full of great information, right, guys?
There you go.
Absolutely, boss.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and get over to my PowerPoint. There we go. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, so obviously this is our subject tonight, photographing fall colors. So I am going to start out listing some of my favorite locations to go. What I find interesting about the information that's going to be presented tonight is that we've all looked at each other's slides and we all have different things to talk about. So that's pretty cool. I have spent a lot of time in the central mountains around Salida and Buena Vista. So those are some of my favorite areas to go to. I like to go to the ghost town of Winfield, and also the area around Huron Peak, which is north of Buena Vista. You turn in at Clear Creek Reservoir, and then you go in all the way until basically the road ends. I think that's 12 miles in to Winfield. Actually, you can drive through Winfield and go a little further. But right there at Winfield, the road splits. You can go through the town and keep going for a bit, or you can also make a left turn, go across the creek, and then go over to the Mount or the Huron Peak trailhead. And that section of road is 4-wheel drive. And it's 2 miles from that spot, so you can walk it. It does get a lot of traffic because it's access to the Mount Huron, which is a 14er. So last time I was there, there were quite a few people, but if you go on a weekday, you'll probably be okay. Another place that I recently visited that I've been wanting to go to for a long time is the Buffalo Peaks Wilderness. And that is over where Highway 285 meets 24 on your way out towards Buena Vista. And there are two mountains that are basically all by themselves, and they get a lot of color. Aspen Ridge is in that same area, so it is south of Highway 24, just before you get to Johnson Village. And then also, if you're in the Springs, you're looking for something closer, the drive along Highway 67 to Cripple Creek and Victor is always really nice. And just be aware, though, that you get a lot of leaf peepers on the weekends that kind of gum up traffic there. And then another place that I kind of like, which is not too far from the Springs. It's actually on the way to Westcliff. But if you've ever been to Bishop's Castle, you know where this is, Over Creek. There's a road in there that you can take actually all the way over into the Westcliff area. But that that section has some nice aspen trees in it as well. All right, one thing that you really need to watch out for when you're photographing the fall colors is to check your RGB histogram. The yellows and the oranges, especially the yellows, are a color that can easily get blown out. And it's a pretty common occurrence. So that color is actually in the red channel. And if you pull up your RGB histogram on the back of your camera and you see that your red channel, like in this case, is clipped in the highlights, that means that your yellow leaves are going to be blown out and there won't be any detail in them. So to fix this issue, basically all you need to do is underexpose to the point where that red channel moves far enough to the left so that there's no clipping. Another thing that you have to be aware of if you're using a polarizer and you're taking a photo similar to this, the camera is going to see all that bright light coming off the yellow leaves, and it's going to want to adjust to that medium gray tone. That's how your meter works. And so it's going to want to underexpose. And if you have a polarizer on your camera, on your lens, then it's going to actually make your sky really dark, like maybe even a navy blue type tone, and that's not natural. So in cases like this, it is a good idea to either minimize the effect of your polarizer or just take it off entirely. Talking a little bit about post-processing, this image here that has a mixture of colors is one that you can have a lot of fun playing with. First off, some of the tools inside of Camera Raw or Lightroom that you can use that are going to help you would be your highlights. You can see that that some of the yellows look a little bit blown out, maybe even the oranges. Even though my histogram isn't clipped, could use some adjustment there. Shadows are going to help you bring out some detail in the darker trees like the pine trees. And then your vibrant slider is probably going to help as well to bring out some of those colors. Another thing that is a lot of fun to play with a photo like this is the HSL tool. And you can adjust the hue, saturation, and luminance of your yellows and your greens and your oranges and really make these colors pop. You can even take these lighter green colors and change them more towards yellow or more towards green. You can also use in Camera Raw, or this version of Camera Raw, the targeted adjustment tool is up here. In Lightroom, if you go to the HSL tool, the targeted adjustment tool shows up in the corner of each of the panels. And you could take that and just position it over one of the colors and left click and hold and slide it up or down in order to make an adjustment to those particular colors. And it's actually a good way to see what colors are in your images, and then you can really bring them out. I also sometimes use HDR to enhance colors. Sometimes when you go out and you get your pictures back and look at them on your computer, they can seem a bit dull, or a lot of times the photos just don't look like what you saw with your own eye. So I have a lot of fun playing with HDR, and in this one it really did bring out all the colors on the hillside. This is actually along the trail to Huron Peak, so this is one of my favorite places to go. Here's another example of using HDR not only to help my colors a bit, but also to help my sky. So a lot of people will do HDR work and it doesn't look natural. But this is an example of where I spent a lot of time making sure that this does look natural and it doesn't have that crunchy or grungy look that HDR is famous for. So you can, using multiple exposures, I normally use 3, one at 0, 1 plus 2, and 1 minus 2, and blend images together. And the picture on the left is the HDR blend. The picture on the right is the picture right out of the camera. So you can see that using HDR helped me bring some detail back into the clouds and some color in my sky. Also helped with my contrast, and also helped with some of the colors, especially like these lighter green colors in here, and also with the color in the reflection in the lake. Here's another one where I took some liberties and changed the color of the sky a little bit to give it a little bit of a purple hue. But this is also a pretty cool spot. It's on the road between Cripple Creek and Victor. I think that's Highway 81. And this is access to Bison Reservoir, which is a private area for residents of Victor. But you can pull off the road and park near the gate, just as long as you're not blocking the gate. And this is a pretty good view on the west side of Pikes Peak. One thing that I think a lot of people don't even think about when they go to shoot fall colors is shoot them at night. Go out sometime when there's a moon, and you'll get some really cool stuff. So this is the case for this photo. This again is near the Huron Peak trailhead. It used to be my favorite place to camp until it got discovered and too crowded. But I really like the way the moonlight is lighting up the peak in the distance, and you can see all the colors, and you can still see a touch of color on the side here. So the photo that was of the cabin, this mountainside here was where all the aspen trees were in that photograph. And then also try to adjust your positioning relative to the trees. It can be a lot of fun to get some backlit images, and the leaves can really glow very nicely with the sun coming through them. And I also like to do the little sunburst type of thing coming through the branches and the leaves. So to do that, you want to bring your aperture down to f/16, and then it works really well if you can just partially block the sun with a branch or some leaves and just have one smaller bright spot coming through, and then you'll get that starburst effect. And then if things don't really work out for you, like if the weather's bad, be creative. This is a time that I was out at the Buffalo Peaks Wilderness, and the weather wasn't very good. And the last day it was still raining, and I drove around some, and I just noticed the cool patterns and the colors in the water droplets on my windshield. So I put on my macro lens and just had some fun taking some pictures inside of my truck. So when things aren't working out very well for you, like maybe you have cloudy skies or completely clear skies, then you can start looking for things that are small. Look for things on the ground, do some macro stuff, or if it's raining, you can try something like this. And then the most important thing is to have fun. It's all about the experience. So wherever you go, just enjoy being out there, no matter what the conditions are. And you have to take the obligatory shot through the aspens looking straight up. So it's a rule. If you're out here in Colorado and you're enjoying the fall colors, you have to do this. Otherwise, we'll send you back. So this actually was on a workshop a number of years ago, and this guy was visiting us from Hong Kong. And I convinced him to do this. I said, if you're going to be here in Colorado, this is the thing you have to do. It's the Colorado experience. So he didn't believe me, but eventually I talked him into it, and he got a really cool photo. So just don't forget to do that. So that's it for my portion of the presentation, and I will hand it over to Bob. If you have any questions, you can just go ahead and put them in the chat room, and then we will get to those later.
Hey, Mike. So, and in my background here, if you can see it, that is a variation on the shooting straight up at the blue sky through the aspen by turning the zoom lens. As you do that, and you can get some pretty neat effects.
And I want to overemphasize the fact that you can't just look straight up and take the picture. You actually have to lay down on your back. It's mandatory.
If you don't do it, you'll be deported. So just
yes, that is true.
To whatever state you came from. And if you're native here, it's going to get a little ugly.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody. And thanks, Mike. And my presentation is going to be a little longer, but I promise you it'll be fun. And if it's not, you get your money back. So you just see Mike for that refund after we're all done. Let me go to share screen here. Bring this up. And hopefully everybody can see the slideshow. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll just, so this is one of my favorite pictures, and it has nothing to do with fall colors, but this chipmunk actually crawled up on my hiking boot when I was in Rocky Mountain National Park and kind of looked at me, and fortunately I had my camera with me, so this wasn't even a cell phone shot, just a real shot. But in any case, first thing I want to talk about is just some good behavior things. I think most of us here are going to know this, but let's just touch on a few things here. First thing is, let's respect everybody else's space. If you join a photographer who's already out there shooting, just respect that they were there first. Don't stand in their field of view. Don't just walk out in front of them. If you're shooting close by, a simple, is it okay if I should share a little space with you, goes a long way to keeping things friendly. They know that you're another photographer and just not some Yahoo visitor who doesn't know any better and walking around and kind of get in their way. And if you're moving around, check to make sure that you're not in the other photographer's pictures. It's okay to shoot from the same spot as everybody else, but just recognize that they may not actually have the best angle. So just because you're shooting next to them doesn't mean you're going to get a good picture. Respect private property and usage restrictions. Don't trespass. And let's not forget, this is hunting season. So if you're out there like in a state wildlife area, and we'll talk about some of those places to shoot, remember that there are hunters out there, especially if you're off trail in the national forest. So wear bright colors. You may have seen the orange shirt that I'm wearing. You don't have to wear like the full hunter blaze orange, but wear something bright so you're not blending in and traipsing around and somebody thinks you're a deer or an elk or a bear or something. And so just be a little safe out there. I'd never heard of anybody having an issue, but let's not be the first one to have that happen to. Respect nature. This is pretty typical and basic stuff. We talked about this when I did the wildflower presentation in the spring. We don't harm anything to get pictures. If the branch is in your way, either learn how to clone that out with the healing brush or something, or move out of the way. And of course, don't disturb the wildlife, and be aware of the wildlife out there that bears are eating so that they can hunker down for the winter. The deer are out there and they're wandering through neighborhoods. I had a pretty nice sized buck just laying around in my front yard yesterday. So they're out there. So just be aware of that. So this is kind of an example of being working well with other people. This is the maroon bells, and I am in this picture someplace along with another 100 and some odd photographers. And as you can tell, the tripods are all really close together. Everybody's kind of close together. This day was like 10 below zero. It had just snowed. It was a miserable cold day. And to make it worse, we didn't even really get good light. But one of the things I want to talk about with this picture is that everybody here was working together really well. Everybody was talking to each other, making sure they didn't bump anything. Nobody wanted somebody's gear to end up in that very cold, deep lake in front of us, except for one person who was sitting next to me who insisted on, when I took a picture, of sticking her cell phone in the corner of the frame of my very wide angle lens and getting her phone in my shot. And you know, I tried to work with her, told her that wait until I take my picture, then she could take hers and we can alternate. And after the third time of her camera ended up in the picture, I told her that her and her camera was going to end up in this lake if she did it another time. And my New Jersey charm came out, which I try not to do too often, but just try to be a good host, and try to be a good neighbor and work together. I have never really had an issue with other photographers if I just took the time to talk to them and kind of talk to each other, and everybody understands what they're working on. So location. And I'm not talking about what part of the state to shoot from. We can talk about that a little bit. I have put on here where I shot these pictures because I know everybody's going to want to know. But you can find some great places just along the road. This spot here is along Highway 82, just past Twin Lakes, up the way to Independence Pass. This is a really cool barn with an old windmill right on the side of the road. And it's a nice picture because everything is rustic, everything fits. But be aware that there are telephone poles and buildings and wires. And one of the mistakes people make is they take these pictures and there's a telephone pole sticking out of the background. There's power lines that go across it. Sometimes you can't avoid that. Learn how to get those out of your picture, but just keep an eye on these things. But I like these old buildings, and I like seeing old barns and old rusted out hulks of cars. They make a good foreground or background for your picture. So try to find those, but just be aware that if it's something really modern, I don't think they always fit into the picture. But don't be lazy. Get out of your car and actually walk around a little bit. This picture was on Weston Pass, which is drivable by almost anything for the most part, but this wasn't from the side of the road. I saw these trees back a little ways, and I got out of the car and walked back into this stand of aspens that these are more red than they are orange, and this turned out to be a pretty nice picture. So get out of the car, walk around a little bit, and take a look for your best shots. Don't just rely on being off the, on the side of the road. But pay attention to detail. This picture kind of looked okay when I shot it, but it's really not that great of a picture. The foreground is bland and distracting and has a fence that runs along the side of it, which is distracting. The mountain in the background is cut off. The sky is washed out. It's easy to get focused in on these bright colors in the foreground, or in the center here, but really this picture is not a great picture. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Look at the whole thing. These trees aren't going anywhere, so you have all the time in the world to frame up the picture and take a nice picture and not cut anything off, or not include a fence, or not include a really bland foreground. So pay attention to detail. This is that picture from the Maroon Bells. I told you it wasn't a great day, and it wasn't. This is a plain blue sky with a white foreground. This is really a pretty boring picture. And so just kind of pay attention to what's back there. This plain blue sky, kind of boring. And this was actually probably the best picture I got that day. It was just not a great day for pictures. Overcast skies are boring because they're all gray. You could fix this one, but if you wanted to crop it a little bit, and this is in Teller County, but it really just kind of killed all the color. It was not a great day for taking pictures. So pay attention to detail, watch the sky while you're out there. White fluffy clouds on a sunny day were pretty nice. This actually broke up the blue sky in the background and kind of made this a pretty decent picture. I wouldn't say it's the best picture I've shot of fall colors, and certainly not going to be the best picture you're ever going to get of fall colors, but it certainly beats a plain blue background or a plain gray background from an overcast day. This is another picture off of Western Pass. Not a bad picture. The clouds in the sky made it kind of nice. I could have cropped this picture out and it probably would still be okay if I cropped out the sky and made it kind of into a pano, but this actually worked out pretty well and had some nice color to it. The obligatory point the camera up at the sky, up at the aspens picture. And what I do is I do this even differently than laying down on the ground. I actually just use a very wide angle lens. This was, I think, a 17 millimeter, but a 14 or 15 works better. So you got to get someplace where the trees are fairly close. And I just lay the camera just flat on the ground with the lens pointing up, and either with the remote, a wireless remote, or with the self timer, just let it take the picture. But this is a day when the blue sky actually works out really well. So if you've got a blue sky kind of a day, this is actually when these straight up shots with the aspens actually work out really well. So you may want to, look for these on those kind of days. And yet, if you hear the noise in the background, that's my dog who is playing with his favorite squeaky toy.
Sure, Bob, we know you're playing with your toys.
Well, I might be.
Laying your camera down on the ground, that's cheating. That doesn't give you the full experience.
I will disagree with you.
No, you have to immerse yourself in the scene by laying down on your back.
I immerse myself by looking up and going, that's going to make a nice picture. Feel free to lay down on the ground. And to be honest with you, the reason why I do this, I want to get this picture as wide as I can. So the 6 inches of me not laying there and just putting that camera straight on the ground gives me even more of the picture. So I like doing it that way. Overcast skies are great for if you want to get in tight pictures like this, because it evens out the light. It's like having a natural diffuser. So if the day you're going out, you have an overcast day, that's a day to probably not shoot the big wide pictures, but to get in a little closer and get those. I wish I can get my dog out of here, but he's actually sitting right behind me with the squeaky squirrel. So I apologize for the noise. But these overcast days are a great day to get in kind of close and get these pictures and shoot these. So this is a good day, a good day to do these kind of pictures. And the time of the day you get these. Now this is a plain blue sky kind of day, but this was at sunrise down in Cuchara. So the sky was a little darker color and it lit up the sides of the trees a little bit. So it kind of helped make this work anyway. You can see the trees have some nice, the tree trunks have some nice side lighting on them. So time of day makes a difference, obviously. And this is a day, this time of the day with the plain blue sky actually worked out pretty well. And if you haven't been down to Cuchara, definitely worth the trip down there. This is usually later in the season, probably the second week in October to go down there. Sunset's also a good time for the same reason. And one of the things I want to talk about too is when you're looking at a place to take pictures, if you're going to be hanging around there, like go to lunch sometime, come back later in the afternoon and see how the change in direction of the sun is going to change your pictures. Cuchara, the way it is mostly a morning type of thing, but you get some good pictures later in the afternoon. Boreas Pass is kind of better in the afternoon than it is in the morning. So make sure if you're going to be hanging around the general area, drive past by where you were earlier in the day and see how the angle of the sun has changed how your pictures look, the texture, the backlighting, the front lighting. So make sure you get back there different times of the day. I'm not going to go over a whole lot of stuff with the equipment. This is a presentation I put on at the Guard of the Gods, and there's a lot of beginners there. So I'm not going to focus too much of this. I think everybody here knows the difference between a pitcher take it with their cell phone and a DSLR or a mirrorless. So I'm not going to kill this too much. So what to shoot? Big wide landscapes are always nice. I will tell you that I'm not really great at these. I'm better at the closer shots, but this one actually came out really good. And what I liked about this was you've got trees in the foreground, which are all orange, and you've got a little bit in the background. It's got a mix of green and orange. You keep just going right up the hill. You got a sky that's probably a few more clouds than I would like, but there's enough blue in there to break things up. So big wide landscapes are always nice, and we see these. Jim is going to show you some of these that he's done that. He's really mastered the big wide landscapes better than I have, but the big wide landscapes are always nice to shoot. I like the use of leading lines, and this one here has this trail in Mueller State Park that just kind of winds through the picture. And then you can kind of see how the aspens are kind of curving around back and forth in here. I kind of like this picture because of this. I like the trail kind of leads you back into the thicket of the aspens back there. And this was last year, kind of early in the season, so you can see the trees are different variations of color. So I kind of like leading lines. This one's the same thing. This is at Mueller State Park, and almost the exact same spot as that other picture was taken, but a different time of the day, and basically turned about 90 degrees. But you've got this trail that winds away into the background. You've got the trees that arch away from you, just go all the way around to the left. Blue sky, white clouds. I think I used a little bit of polarizer on here, but not a whole lot because I was shooting wide angle. So, and actually I may have done that in post-processing, added a polarizer effect. But this was really a great shot and a lot of really nice use of leading lines through here. Again, leading lines, this is down in Kachara. And yeah, I included the sign on the left on purpose because I already had a road in here, so I had something man-made. But I kind of thought it was just kind of fun to have this curving road in here, and then that little S road sign in there, and then just the beautiful colors in the background and the white tree trunks. And this was kind of a midday kind of picture, so you wouldn't think the lighting would be good, but it actually worked out pretty nice in here. And it's kind of a whimsical shot, I guess. I don't know, but for some reason I kind of liked it, even with the road in the background or in the foreground and that sign. Some would argue to crop the sign out or to clone it out, use the healing brush. I kind of liked it. I think it added something. I'm not sure what, but it added something. Maybe just something distracting. Look for reflections. Sometimes we forget about looking at reflections. This was down in Marble, and on the way over to, oh, I can't remember the name of it, but the mill that's down there is the most popular place in Colorado to shoot. But this is kind of some reflections, kind of an overcast kind of day. Not a great day for taking pictures, but the clouds broken up, so the mountain in the background peaked up. And then actually what made the shot kind of nice was this reflection in the lake there. The colors were kind of muted still, but it's kind of an interesting shot. I don't think it's the best shot out there, but its use of reflections and make things kind of interesting. Another one down at Kachara. This is a little better kind of a reflection shot. And there's all different kinds of colors in here. And there was a ripple in the water, which I actually think made the reflection even more interesting. And I think it's probably, it worked out to be a really, really cool shot. So look for reflections when you can. And for these little lakes and ponds that may pop up while you're out there. Kind of a natural frame here. This is aspen. It kind of makes a V, and in the background, I got some more aspens back there. I just thought this looked kind of interesting as I was wandering around and hiking around Mueller. So I thought this looked interesting. So look for things like this. And then there was another one in Mueller that this shot here. And I'm not sure what I'm framing up, kind of the backside of Pikes Peak, and those aspens in the background kind of get framed up by the aspens in the foreground here. Again, good lighting. This is late in the day because I'm facing east, so the sun's behind me a little bit. You can tell by the way the highlights are on the tree trunk. But this made kind of a fun picture and kind of framed in these trees here and kind of framed in Pikes Peak. And I had a good sky that day to work with too. So look at framing things up with whatever's natural there. Don't forget to get in close. And I think my pictures that I get closer are better, but this was off the side of the road, a 300 millimeter lens shooting down at this aspen tree, which just had just a little bit of the trunk and some branches sticking out, and everything behind it was gold. And I kind of like this picture. I think it made a really cool picture to get. It's filled from edge to edge on the frame with color, and that tree trunk sticking out. I made effort not to center it. It's off a little bit to one side, so I kind of broke it up a little bit. I just think it worked out really good. So get in close when you can. Don't always shoot for not always shooting for the fences with the big wide shots. And then get in even closer. And we'll talk a little bit about this too, but not everything in Colorado is gold and our aspen trees. We don't have the colors here like we do in New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine, where it's just every color under the rainbow, but there's a lot of other colors out there. So get close and look for these little nice features down below. This one, these different colors against this Pikes Peak granite, or whatever granite this is down below. And I'll admit this, I actually picked up these leaves and threw them down here to arrange this, but that's okay too. You're making art, you're not making a documentary. But I thought that I had some really nice colors to mix in here against the rock background. So getting close, and then even get even closer and look down below you. Whatever these are, and I have no idea, but they were nice colors. They're flat against the ground, had a good overcast day. The lighting was really even, and kind of made an interesting picture. Kind of radiates out from the middle, and there's not an aspen leaf to be seen in there, but it was still a very colorful picture. So look what's down below you. This is really good stuff to shoot on an overcast day when you've got, the sky's not looking great, and it's kind of a blah day. That's the perfect time to get these pictures down below and at your feet. There's more than just aspens around here. Again, a picture with not a lick of aspens in it, but some nice color. A little bit of dew that day, so there's some nice raindrops on here, or dewdrops. This is in North Cheyenne Canyon. North Cheyenne Canyon is a great place for stuff like this. There's all kinds of different foliage, and I think Jim said there's some Virginia creeper that grows in that area, and you end up with a lot of color, a lot of different textures, a lot of depth to this picture. So look for more than just the aspens that are out there. Some really nice contrasting colors, these red leaves against the yellow background. This is in Bear Creek. This is one branch sticking out, was kind of in my way, and then I focused in on it and kind of made for a really cool picture. So we'll talk about favorite places to shoot. And there's a whole list of them here. And Mike's recording this, so you'll be able to take a look at this later. But Weston Pass is good. St. Elmo down towards Poplar Gulch is really nice. Kenosha Pass and the Colorado Trail cuts through the Boreas Pass. The whole area of Kuchar, and if you've never been to Kuchar, it's just a wonderful place to go and take pictures. Usually later in the season, but it's right down the south end of the state. The Cheeseman Ranch Trail, which is the north end of the trail in Mueller State Park, highly recommend that. That's a great place to go hiking and get pictures. The Crags, the problem there is you're dealing with crowds. The Shooting Star Trail and Florissant Fossil Beds National Monument. Not a lot of aspens in Florissant Fossil Beds, but this one trail has some nice fossils, or I'm sorry, some nice aspens. And there is a pond back in there, and Jim was there not too long ago and said the pond has water in it, and that you get some nice reflections. Catamount Open Space near Divide. If you ever want more information on this, you can feel free to email me or message me. I'll give you some more information on how to get to some of these spots. Dome Rock State Wildlife Area, which borders against the south end of Mueller State Park. There's one trail there that goes all the way around the wildlife area. It's about 11 miles. But if you want to just touch one section of it, within about 2 miles of the trailhead, there's a lot of aspens in there. It's a pretty rigorous hike, though. It's a lot of uphill. But if you're willing to put in the effort, you can get some really nice pictures in there. And the advantage is it's not very crowded. You do need a hunting or fishing license now to go in the state wildlife area. Even if you're not hunting or fishing, you do need a license. So keep that in mind. Highway 550, the $1 Million Highway between Silverton and Durango, is one of the iconic places for fall colors pictures. It does get snow early, so you need to be aware of the road conditions there. This area, Colorado 167 from Highway 96 to San Isabel, kind of the same place Mike was talking about, the Ophir Creek area and near Bishop's Castle. that whole area there is just great for colors. Down the far, far south end of the state, Colorado Highway 17, which then becomes New Mexico Highway 17 from the Conejos River to Chama, New Mexico, is a stunning place for fall colors. And it's also where the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad goes through. So if you time it either in the morning or in the afternoon, if you're lucky, you'll get a picture of the steam engine coming across or below you and get the fall colors behind the steam engine. That is really a cool place to get pictures. Highly recommended. Rio Grande National Forest, Road 380 from Highway 160. So we're talking about basically the eastern foot of Wolf Creek Pass. And Forest Road 380 is an easy road to do with any car. All the way back to what's called the Elwood Cabin is just nothing but aspens through that whole stretch of road, probably 20 miles of road. Just nothing but aspens in there. So that's a great place to go. Horse Thief Park, which is as you're going up towards Pancake Rocks Trail, it's that area to the left, just before you get to where Pancake Rocks turns to the right. If you go left there's about a mile through Horse Thief Park. That is really a nice place to get some pictures, and highly recommend that. Pretty easy to get to, and a nice area there. There's a lake back in there that sometimes has water in it. If you get that, you'll get some really nice color in there. North Cheyenne Canyon is a good spot. Pikes Peak Highway, Crow Gulch, which is about, I don't know, 2 miles from the toll booth. You'll see a sign on the right for Crow Gulch. If you just park there and just hike back in there, there's a lot of aspens back in there. You can get pictures. A lot of rolling hills, kind of a narrow area, so you can fill the frame pretty easily, and a really nice place to get pictures. I know we burned through everything pretty quickly there. Mike, I thought I saw some stuff on the chat. Yes, Crystal Mill. Somebody reminded me of Crystal Mill, which I could not remember of it, but that's the spot there. And somebody's dog came running in to see what was squeaking. My dog likes that particular toy because it just makes a lot of noise. Do you ever use a gadget with a phone app like, I don't know what Pluto is? Ron, what kind of gadget are you talking about there?
Yeah, what I'm talking about, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a thing that connects to your camera and sits on your camera, and it's supposed to be sort of intelligent and help you get pictures. And you could talk to it with your phone and see what the camera sees. So if your camera was laying down on the ground, like you suggested, you could actually see what the viewfinder was looking at. And I thought about getting one, but I wasn't sure if it'd be worth it.
Well, I use Canon. So Canon has an app that you can get for your phone called Canon Connect. And it actually, and you don't need any extra gadgets. You just get the app. It connects to your phone either with Bluetooth or directly with Wi-Fi. So you don't even need an internet connection. They connect, but that will actually do that. It can actually look through the lens, and you can actually make adjustments on your camera and see exactly what your camera sees, and then actually from your phone take the picture. And you don't need any extra devices. I do have a device called an Arsenal, which was a Kickstarter program that came in a couple of years ago. It connects to your phone. It doesn't work with all phones, but it works with most of them. And what's nice with that device is that you can actually set it up to do focus stacking and HDR right off your camera. There's some limitations to it. It only stores to the device, and it only stores in JPEG, not in RAW. So there's some limitations to it, but I use the Arsenal. But if you're just looking for remote shooting, the Canon Connect app for people who have Canon cameras, it's a free download, and it works with just about every camera they make, and you can shoot remotely. I'll cheat in the winter when I'm taking a shot and I'm getting a snow scene and it's really cold and I'm waiting for the light to get good. I'll have the tripod sitting in front of the Jeep, and I'll be in the Jeep when it's nice and warm, and I'll just actually shoot from inside the warm Jeep through my phone, and avoid getting out in the cold on a day when I'm lucky to do that. But I hope that's the long answer to your question, Ron. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I'll have to see if my Canon, I have a T6. I don't know if it has that ability or not.
I'm pretty sure the T6 does, because I was doing it with even older cameras than that. I was doing it with a T3i, worked with that, so I'm pretty sure your T6 will work with that. But you want to double check. But the app is free and you can download it. And if it doesn't work, not a big deal.
Okay,
Best,
thanks.
yeah. Can you recommend best dates to go to Colorado Highway 17, New Mexico 17? That's way down the south end of the state. So that's going to be, I would say, I would start checking on those conditions the end of September, first couple weeks in October for that area. But, you know, these things are always dependent on the weather and it's hard to predict. But I think you're probably still a few weeks away from that area. But usually that's late in the season. That's pretty well down there. I mean, you're going to be on the New Mexico border. Can you search for these locations on the web to assist in finding them? Yes. If everything I told you about, if you web search these locations, you'll find them. But if you need any specific information, feel free to message me and I'll help you find some of these locations.
Yeah, most of the places are on Google Maps. So
Yep.
if you type in those names, they should show up.
Yep. I stayed away from mostly a lot of hiking trails, but some of these are trails you want to go back on. But yeah, you could find most of these spots pretty easy. But like I said, I'll be happy to answer any questions. So that's where it does. So you go in Ridgeway, Ouray, Telluride, 9:30 to 10:03. I think, Elizabeth, if you're in that area and you want to head towards Chama after that, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. Any other questions? Is there a website that gives you up-to-date info on how the colors look? No, but there is a Colorado Fall Colors Facebook page that it's a private page, so you have to ask to be allowed on there. And that does get a lot of crowdsourced information. So if you're on Facebook, I would recommend going to that Facebook page. And I think Jim is on that Facebook page.
Yeah,
And
I'm on it too.
yeah,
It's
so
reports of fall colors or something like that.
yeah. The news channels have information, but to be honest with you, their information tends to be pretty overly broad. If you're looking for specific information, I would suggest that Facebook page. And Mike, if you can throw a link into that when you
Yeah, let
get
me
a
find it.
chance, that's great. Yeah, the news channels, their information tends to be very broad. It's a big map of the state with, you know, just broad paintbrushes of color on there. If you're looking for something specific, I'd recommend the Facebook page instead, because it's sort of like what we do for spring, for the wildflowers. People are posting pictures of specific locations, so it's a little more specific that way. Any other questions? I know I went through that pretty quickly. Two things I want to let you know. I am doing a fall colors presentation at Garden of the Gods a weekend after this coming. But I believe it might be full because of restrictions. We can only have like 10 people. It may be full. I'll get a link. If it's not full, I'll get a link for that. Also, I will be doing Fox 21 News on the morning of the, hang on a second, I'll get you the date here. If I can find my calendar. The morning of the 29th. And if you want to watch that, we'll be in Mueller State Park doing a thing there about fall color photography. And actually the date I'm doing the fall colors presentation at Garden of the Gods, I was wrong on that. It's not till October 3rd when we'll be doing that. And if you're a Trails and Open Space Coalition member, we're doing a fall colors hike for members only on October 4th. So if you're a member of Trails and Open Space Coalition, I'll be taking people on a hike to show how to take some fall colors photos. And that will be on October 4th, but you need to be a TOSC member and you want to sign up for it. Do you guys handhold or use a tripod? Jim's going to get on this too, but I would say use a tripod anytime you get a chance, especially for those down looking close-up pictures. Obviously not for like the picture where you're pointing up. You can't do that. And by the way, Mike, the picture of my background, obviously I had to be laying on the ground to get that one because I had to turn the zoom ring. They haven't made an app that does turn the zoom ring while you're taking the picture. So just so you get off my case, I did actually lay down on the ground and get one of these.
Well, to answer Chris's question, yeah, if I'm shooting landscapes, 0.9% of the time I'm on a tripod, unless I'm laying on my back um, and taking the picture straight up. So yes, if I'm shooting landscapes, definitely gonna be on a tripod.
It's just good practice anyway. So
And I did post the link to that Facebook page. That group is called Reports of Colorado Fall Colors.
to use a back cushion. If you remember the
Yeah, sticks and rocks.
yeah, look for soft leaves. If you remember the I actually don't, because I'm just down there for just a second taking the picture. I just try to be careful. You know, this takes a second to take, so I usually don't worry about it a whole lot.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't, I don't get up very quickly, so I just enjoy my time while I'm down there. And then maybe if someone comes by, they can help me up.
Any other questions?
Oh, okay.
If not, I'll kick this over to Jim and he'll do his presentation. You'll see that we overlap on a few things, but that's kind of drive home some points about key things to think about. So Jim, it's all yours.
So here we go. I'm basically going to talk about fall color locations. These are all places that we've been and we've gone back to more than once. Basically, it's the southern half of Colorado and northern New Mexico. Bob just talked about local, as Mike did too, but those are the places I'm going to talk about. So in Crested Butte, there's the Gothic, Emerald Lake area. That's the town of Gothic, and there's the Gothic Road. There's Kebler Pass, Ohio Pass, which is near there. The Taylor River Road and Reservoir, I'll mention that because the Cottonwood Pass, they paved that road now, and so you can come over from Buena Vista, and it's a lot faster, and you'll go right through that and see all the stuff that's going on there. Also, out of CB is the Slate River Road, or 734, and then there's Paradise Basin, which is, I'll get into the details of that here in a second. So you can make a loop out of all this when you go to Crested Butte. If you go to Gothic, you come out of the north side, go to Mount Crested Butte, and just keep going north on the road there. It turns into a dirt road. There's Gothic Mountain. There's lots of aspens, Beaver Ponds, Emerald Lake, Schofield Pass. Don't go to Crystal Mill. Yeah, just forget that. We saw one time there. I was going to their little booth, information booth, and there was a older couple who was like, "Yeah, we want to rent a Jeep so we can drive to Crystal Mill." And she goes, "No." They go, "Yeah, that's what you want to do." "No, you don't, and you're not going to do it because nobody's going to rent you a Jeep to go there. So you don't want to go there." Also, when you in the Crested Butte area, there's a Crested Butte South and Cement Creek Road, and it's a nice drive up there. And there's a lot of aspen. There's a campground and stuff up in there. I don't know. Let's see. Can I do this? Oh, it doesn't work for mine. Okay. Well, you can see Crested Butte in the south part there, the south center, and you can go up Mount Crested Butte and up Gothic, and it loops around. There's the Gothic campground. There's Avery Peak. There's Emerald Lake way up at the north end, and that'll can loop around over towards Paradise Basin, and you can come back on Washington Gulch Road, which you can see between Crested Butte and Mount Crested Butte, or you can come down Slate River Road. You can see the name Slate River in there. Then on the west side of Crested Butte is Colorado County Road 12 that goes over to Kebler Pass and takes you all the way over to Paonia if you want to go that way. Here's a little bit closer view. And this reminds me to mention to you that having good maps I think is indispensable. And I mean paper maps. GPS has its own limitations. It doesn't always work. the way you want it to work. We've all probably heard the horror stories of people who were following a GPS and got in all kinds of trouble. These maps, these two here, I just scanned them in, which is why they're not very good. They're from a company called Latitude 40, and they make some really, really good maps. We use those a lot. They don't make them for the whole state, but for areas. So high traffic areas, yeah, they do make good maps there. I stole this directly off the Hovenweek National Monument website. It's a place west of Cortez that we go to a lot. It's really a cool place. But they tell you right on the website, because they're out in the middle of nowhere, and they say GPS units don't work, and use a map. And I just stole this because I thought, you know, that just drive that point home. Having a good map is really indispensable. So this is along Gothic Road. This picture here is right after you've gotten onto the main road. The East River is down below. You can't see it here. But this is the kind of the view that you're going to get along Gothic Road. And as you'll notice, there's just all kinds of colors in here. There's reds and the oranges and yellows, and there's even some green ones. And, you know, just depending on the time that you get there, it's going to be different every year. But this is fairly typical of what you get along that road. There's another nice view, and you can pull off just about anywhere. You just got to be careful because it's a fairly well-traveled road, even though it's a dirt road. And this goes up to the little town of Gothic, which is sort of not a town. It's where the Rocky Mountain Biological Laboratory is located, or Rumble as the locals call it. And there's also, you know, remember to, like I said before, everybody else mentions to zoom in a bit and, you know, get close up. This is just one version of it. I kind of like people call these lollipops. I've heard them called that, with the tall aspens with the yellow leaves at the top. It's like a lollipop. This is Avery Peak, which is north of the town of Gothic. There used to be a picnic ground. The Avery picnic ground was in those trees right below the peak. And every year they'd have to come in and rebuild it because all the snow would just all get funneled right down through there. When the snow melt would happen, it would just roar through this place and just tear it to pieces. And finally they gave up. Now there is a potty house off the road there that used to go back up into the picnic area, but there is a potty house there. This is on the other side of the road, Gothic Road, looking towards the west. So you got all kinds of possibilities. And this is obviously an early morning shot. So that's kind of a north-south road, and this looking to the west. And this is one of the beaver ponds. There's all kinds of little dirt roads that go off of Gothic, and you just gotta, you know, pull in there, get out and walk. And this is like, I don't know, less than a quarter mile back. I found this beaver pond back there. There's no signs or anything. You just get out and walk and check them out and look and see what you find. This is a little bit further up the road looking back. And there's a little pond here that didn't get much in the way of reflections, just another little bit. There was color in the underbrush, and the aspens were looking pretty decent. We got nice mountains here and with clouds in the sky. So I consider that a win-win. So if you head out of town on County Road 12, one of the places you can stop at is right after you leave town. It's called Woods Walk. And the road makes a sharp left, and there's a pullout that you can see. And on your right is there's a sign there that you can go into, and you can hike around in there. There's all kinds of aspens. In the summer, it's full of columbines. And then you can go out of Woods Walk. You can go on the Lower Loop Trail, and that takes you over by Peanut Lake, and just another place that you can go. If you keep on going towards Kebler Pass, before you get to Kebler Pass, there's a turnoff to Ohio Pass, and it's marked, and you'll see it. There's also on the right-hand side a road that goes up to Lake Irwin, which is also quite nice. The funny thing is, some of the maps call it Ohio Pass Road, and some of it call it Ohio Creek Road. In Gunnison, when you're coming up from that direction, there is a sign that calls it Ohio Creek Road. So, whatever. The other thing that we've noticed is that that road does get a lot of leaf peepers in the weekend on the Ohio Pass Road. So this is just after you've gone over Kebler Pass. This is East Beckwith. This is a beaver pond. This is just pretty much taken from the road. And you got to be careful there because that's a lot of people are on that road in the fall taking pictures. So what I did was I just hiked down from the road to get a better view of the beaver pond. And I have seen a beaver in there. They are there. But anyway, that's the East Beckwith. This is down the road. This is looking back. And that's one of the things you want to remember. If you're going down and you're going to come back, that's one thing. But always when you get out of the car, you're looking ahead. Is to turn around and look behind you and see what's there. And you can get the idea from this picture that the woods is just full of aspens. It's just tons and tons of them. And I think, Kebler Pass, I think it's been certified now that the largest single living organism in the world is this stand of aspens at Kebler Pass. It's pretty impressive. This is one of the other places you can go. It's Lost Lake. This is not the lake. This is not it. This is on the road up to the lake. And there was this little pond here, and I stopped and got this reflection in there. Lost Lake is kind of a reservoir, and sometimes they empty it down into the Paonia Reservoir, I think it's called. I remember one time going up there, somebody was driving back out, and I said, hey, by the way, is there any water in the lake? And the guy was like, no, they drained it. It's like, oh, darn. So you never know what you're going to find up at Lost Lake. But this is Lost Lake. There is a trail you can hike around all the way around the lake and get views from all these angles. It's not a bad trail. It just seems, as I recall, it was a relatively straightforward hike, not terribly difficult. If you can get reflections there, it is what it is. Okay, this is Marcellina. It's a mountain down the road, and you see the aspens here. They weren't that great, but I took a picture that particular year we were there. Looks like they were getting a little dried out and whatnot. You never know. One of the cool places you can stop at is called the Ruby Range Overlook. And so you're going to go, after you come over Kebler Pass and come on down past East Beckwith there, kind of. You go by a place called the Horse Ranch Park, and there's signs there. And people take their horses up there, and they have their horse trailers, and they park them right there, and then you go horseback riding all these trails in the woods there. And across the road, there's a little bridge you'll go across, and there's a trailhead road that comes off of that to the left there, and it goes back up in there. And it's a sunset location, although this is actually in the late afternoon. There can be a whole lot of people there at sunset, but it is a pretty cool spot. This is the Ruby Range Overlook. This is what you see. We were coming back from the San Juans and came up through here, and it was pretty amazing. There was nobody there that day, and this was late in the afternoon. There's every color you can imagine of an aspen in here, including some without any leaves on them. I thought it was pretty amazing. On the other side of that mountain right there, which is the Ruby Range, is Lake Irwin. So you can come at it from the other side at Lake Irwin. And as Bob and Mike have both commented, stop and look at some close-up things. I don't think I've ever published this picture before because I looked at it and I saw that dead branch curling around up in the corner, and I was like, dang, got it. I didn't like that, but it does still illustrate the point. And this looks like it was pretty much of a blue sky day, but the blue sky and the yellow aspen really work together quite nicely. So don't discredit those blue sky days. Oh yeah, and the other thing is to think about black and white. You know, with the right in the processing, picking the right color filter, you can turn those yellow leaves or those green leaves. You can turn them just about white, and it comes out pretty well. I think the black and white fall color shots are interesting. This is another place that we located by accident. This was after right after Lost. No, I'm sorry, the Ruby Range Overlook. The road made a sharp turn to the right, and off to the left, we noticed it looked like a pullout, and there was a trail there. It went back into the woods. I think it was an animal trail, because there are cattle running around up here. And went back in the woods and found this old black rock, real dark, and in the aspens, and then the ferns, they turn either a gold or brown color. These were pretty gold looking and fairly attractive, and had the light, filtered light coming through the aspens and everything, and came out pretty decent. And I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, both of these are HDR, multiple shots, not blended together. So if you keep on going down the road, you come to the West Elks, which is the East Beckwith and West Beckwith are part of the West Elks, but this is the other end of it. And you got these huge vistas to the south of the road, and this is one of those. Ohio Pass. So at any rate, we're going to go down there. There are beaver ponds. There's plenty of places to pull out, and you can do hikes. And probably that time of year there aren't mosquitoes, but I'll tell you what, you go there in the summertime, they can just about eat you alive. The Ohio Pass, when you get there, you don't think you're there, but you'll recognize it, because it's not like you go up to this peak and then down. What you come to is this. And there's a pull out there, and people pull off right there, and you have this, and this is a multi-shot panorama that I stitched together. And this is what you can see. On the far right background, there's those peaks sticking up. It's the castle. And that's kind of the big feature there at Ohio Pass. This was a different time of the year and had some low clouds around on the castles. I used a long lens to capture this sort of little more intimate look. This is off to the side of Ohio Pass. You can get all kinds of these rather interesting layered shots alternating between the white trunks and the yellow aspens. And just literally walking distance on the road down the pass is, there's all kinds of places and things that you can look at and gather from just right there at the edge of the road. This is just continuing on down towards Gunnison. This is at the beaver ponds. If you're heading downhill towards Gunnison, it's pretty easy to see because there's a pullout and there's a sign there. When you're going uphill from Gunnison, it's not so obvious, but there's a trail and you can hike back in there, and they have the ferns and the aspens, and there's a beaver pond up there, and it's just another place that you can go. So the Paradise Basin or Divide in Slate River Road. And on any of these places, this is a dirt road. It's up in the mountains. It's at 10,000 feet. You really need to pay attention to the weather and road conditions, because if you get stuck up there, it's going to be a really expensive tow to have somebody drag you out of there. And I've seen people in the summertime, for some reason, a guy was trying to make a 3-point turn in the middle, to get turned in the road, and he dropped his front wheels off the edge of the road into the drainage ditch, and that was it. He high-centered, and he was really unhappy. You can make a loop out of it or not. The one thing that you want to keep thinking about is, well, we haven't really gone up to Paradise Basin for fall. We've gone up there in the summertime. Even in the spring, it can be blocked with snow. We met a guy coming back from there one time, and we asked him about it. And he goes, "We turned around, couldn't get through. I could have blasted through the snowdrift, but I don't know what was on the other side, so there wouldn't have been any point in it." And we're like, "Exactly." So we turned around too. But it is a neat place, and I'm just going to show you some pictures from there. They're not fall pictures, but it's a pretty gorgeous place to go. This is just past the turn off to the O.B. Joyful Trail and Campground. This is on Slate River Road. It's a dirt road, but it's a road. It's a Colorado mountain road. I do like the black and whites of these landscapes. I think they're fun. This is at the Divide, Paradise Basin or Divide. And there's a little pond here I'll show you in a second, but this is the view, kind of the view you get. There are aspens in some of these locations, not so many in this picture here. This is at the basin, the little pond up there. It's really kind of cool. This is on the other side, looking back towards Emerald Lake in that area. That's, I think that's Ruby Mountain. And this was in the summertime, there's still snow there. One year, you couldn't even get up to Schofield Pass on Gothic Road. You could only go so far because there's been a avalanche, and it never melted the whole summer. It stayed there the whole time. So I'm saying is that this isn't the greatest fall color location, but it is a connector to all the other things. You can still do an out and back on Gothic, Washington Gulch, Slate River. Those work just as well. San Juan is another one of our favorite places, the Ridgeway, Ouray, Telluride area. There's a lot of different roads and places you can check out down there. The county roads 5, 7, and 9 are 3 of the popular locations, along with Last Dollar Road, which gives you 4 different places. There's a few other that we found that are pretty nice. You can go from Ridgeway, you can go up Elk Creek Pass, and you can go along Cimarron Ridge and Silver Jack. Those are really great places to go for fall colors. Down by Telluride, just past Telluride, is Sunshine Campground, which will probably be closed. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute, and I'll talk about that. Again, here, we always like to go there in the fall, and we're always hoping to get snow. You might get rain, you might get snow, you might get rain and snow. You really got to be careful because the roads up there just turn to soup, and you really don't want to go on. I saw a car stuck up there that somebody abandoned. The wheel wells were totally full of mud. They couldn't even turn the wheels. They were going to have to come dig it out at some point. And of course, you tear the road up when you do that. So that's just really ridiculous. County Road 7, which goes to the Sneffels Range overlook, is probably the best road of them all, even when it gets wet. But again, it's something you really got to pay attention to. And ridgewaycam.com is a great webcam that you can go to and access, and it scans and zooms in and out the whole Sneffels Range across there. So you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on by going to that cam. So here we are. Down at the bottom, you'll see Ridgeway. You'll see the little 5 and the 7. You can't see the 9 on this particular map right here, but you can see Chimney Rock, Owl Creek Pass, just north of Ridgeway there, see the 10 and the 10A, and it goes, you can follow that over. There's Ridgeway State Park, and also you can go on County Road 1, which is just to the northwest. And if you do that, you can go see Dennis Weaver's passive solar home. The last time I heard, it was for sale. Yeah, here's Ouray, and you probably can see, yeah, there's Last Dollar Road on the left hand of your screen, and that ends up down here by the airport, by Telluride. Then you go down past Mountain Village, and you'll see where it says Sunshine on 145 there. There's a campground. That campground closes early, but there's a big kind of pull off because of the way it's configured. You can just pull off there and park and just walk down into the campground, which is real easy. That's a great place to go. And you'll see down below there the Ophir Needles by Ames, etc. You know, I'll show you a picture of that in a few minutes. So that gives you just a quick, you know, trying to give you some sense of place. This is, as I recall, is off County Road 5. There's a pullout where the regular CR5 turns into a Forest Service road. You'll know when you get there because there's this kind of a big, wide pullout with turnaround looking kind of thing. And off to the right there is an overlook where I took this picture. And for some, I don't know the rational reason behind this, but everybody says, "Oh yeah, the John Fielder overlook. Yeah, I know where that is." And I'm like, okay, that's just what I've heard any number of people call it that for some reason. Maybe John Fielder took a picture from there and made it famous. I don't know. But this is all continuing up County Road 5. There's one creek crossing to get to this. It may or may not have water in it. I have a 4Runner, so that helps. This is looking back over the road that I had just driven on. And at the very end down there, I know right where it is, but there's a huge pothole. People thrown, it's not a pothole. I mean, it's a huge cavity. And you got to be really careful going around it. People thrown logs and stuff in it, but it's not anything you drive through. You drive around it. And so, you know, one wheel's kind of on the edge of it, and you know, it's like you just got to be careful. Or walk. We have parked. There is a place you can pull out and you can park. We walked up that road. I've also driven around it too. So this is on County Road 12A. Looking towards Courthouse Rock and Chimney Rock. So sort of right center is that triangular looking, that's Courthouse Rock. And on the left, the biggest pillar looking thing is Chimney Rock. And there's a road that goes up to Owl Creek Pass. You can keep on going past there, go on down to Cimarron Ridge and look at the Silverjack Reservoir area. And that's really quite pretty also. The other location that's pretty cool is Dallas Divide. There's a huge pullout at this high point, and people line up there for sunrise. And if you didn't know, the Sneffels Range, and that's Sneffels right there in the center. The Sneffels Range runs east and west, which is fairly unusual in Colorado. So it can be a sunrise or a sunset place. Either way works just fine. Colors weren't that great the time we stopped there, but I knew if I did it right, I could get a decent picture in black and white out of it, and I did. This is in color. Now this is on County Road 7. This is back, I think, what's his name? I can't think of his name now, the fashion designer guy. Ralph Lauren, thank you. My wife just squeezed me in there. He owns a lot of his land back in here. It's a double L ranch, RLL ranch or something like that. Ralph Lauren. You can see the Ralph Lauren teepee from the road. He has a Navajo teepee. They're luxury teepees that people stay in. It's sort of, it must have escaped him that Navajos don't live in teepees, but hey, whatever. Anyway, this is a sunrise photo from there. It's pretty decent. If you continue on the road around, there's a national forest site down there with a beaver pond that's pretty cool. This is a panorama of that whole area. And the bottom left hand, you can see the part of the road that goes down there. It's kind of a neat place to go. This is off of County Road 9. There's on the back side of where I'm, my back is facing towards it. When I took this picture, there's an old corral there that people stop and take pictures of the corral and stuff. So it's just another cool place. I think that's on County Road 9, but I'm not going to swear to that. I think it is. This is the beginning, or the north end, I should say, not the beginning, because it could be the end. But this is Last Dollar Road, which is just to the right here of this old fence. And there's a sign there, and it's a place to go for fall color pictures there. My wife's talking to me in the background. So this is the sign there, it's along the road. This is not a joke. There's some places where you could slide off and be in real serious trouble. Yeah, it's not when it's wet. Just don't go there when it's wet. So this is one of the views. You just stopped alongside the road. I thought this was kind of cool with the clouds and everything. You got the red aspens and the yellow aspens here, some without leaves, et cetera, et cetera. You know, you never know what's going to happen because the timing is always different every time. This is further up. Part of the road gets kind of raggedy. It's rough. You just go slow. It's good to have a high clearance vehicle. This is coming down now. Last Dollar Road is starting to go down, and I saw this. I thought it was pretty cool. So this is now I mentioned that Sunshine Campground on the other side of Telluride. Well, we hiked down, and this is the Ophir Needles in the background, and this is the view of what you can get at Sunshine Campground. The other really neat feature at Sunshine Campground is this. There's a ridge that has a little trail on it that runs along the edge of the campground. And you walk up there and you look over this huge valley and you can see all this mountainside across the way from you. So it's, you know, talk about big vistas. This is one of those places. Another cool place, this is on the road to Telluride. You go up to Woods Lake. I think it's a Saw Pit. There's a Forest Service road that goes up there. There's a campground there. We camped there in this lake, and it was pretty cool. So we had some nice sunsets, sunrises, colors, reflections. Pretty cool. There's a trail you can go hiking on, and there's a beaver pond back in there. And this is early morning. Got some decent reflections in the water there. I thought it was pretty nice. The other thing, I just mentioned this, I didn't really talk about it a whole lot. This is coming from the south up towards the San Juans. And this is basically Lizard Head Pass, I think. This is off the main road, just a little dirt road off the side there, but there's all kind of views coming from the other end of Colorado. Another place that I don't think a lot of people think about very often, and that's northern New Mexico. Down there, it's cottonwoods, and they're really brilliant. I think they give aspens a real run for their money in terms of the brilliancy, the bright yellow. And for some reason, it always seems like the trunks are really black in the fall. When maybe it's just the color contrast or something makes them look black. I don't know, but they're pretty cool. And we've stayed at Ghost Ranch a couple times. They have a nice campground there. This is in Ghost Ranch itself. So you got all these mountains, the buttes, the red sandstone, and we had the partial moon here, and the cottonwoods and underbrush in the foreground. Here's the cottonwoods with the pitternel in the background. Those of you familiar with Georgia O'Keeffe know her ashes were scattered there. She said that God told her if she painted it often enough, it would be hers. I'm not sure that the Native Americans down there agree with that, but it's an interesting point. The pitternel was a fantastic source of chirps for tools. And there's a road you can take on the other side of it and get up there. And we've hiked up in there, and there's just gobs and gobs and gobs of chert. It's pretty cool just to go there and check it out. This is another of that cottonwoods and the bluff there at the Ghost Ranch. And black and white. You know, this was right near a little place. We found this little place. We went driving down the road south of Abiquiu, the Abiquiu Reservoir, heading toward this little town of Coyote. Didn't know anything about it. We saw this place off the side of the road. We went back to get pictures there, and this is the cottonwoods that are right near there. This is the structure. This is really an amazing structure. It's got the stone, it's got Hekal, and it's got the adobe in the background there. So it's got a little bit of everything. And then it's got these cottonwoods off there. You have this amazing view. I can see why somebody built a structure here and lived here, apparently, because of the view to the north. And you can't see it in this picture, but off to the right, you can actually see the Pedernal sort of aimed right at you, to the end of it. It's a very cool location. And we never could figure out what the deal was, because it's not marked, there's no signs of any kind. It's just there. And you can see it from the road. Nobody bothered us. Nobody said anything. Nobody came and said, hey, you need to get out of here. So we just hung out there for a while. This is the Tama River on the main road there. There's a pullout. This is called the O'Keefe Overlook. She painted this photo. Not this photo, what am I saying? This scene. She didn't have the sky in hers. I like to have the sky in mine, so this is my version. If you ever go there and you're heading east on the road, you'll be coming downhill to this pullout, and you come around the curve and there's the pullout. Your instinct is, oh, there he is, let me pull in. Well, it's not a really big pullout, so be forewarned. If you say, oh, it's coming up, I better slow down, because it's not really big. And I pulled in there, it was almost going too fast. And I've talked to people who said, you know, we just go down by it, past it, we turn around, we come back uphill, and then it's thought safer to pull in. Well, I can understand that. So anyway, this is the O'Keefe Overlook of the Tama River. Another interesting place is it's called the Monastery of Christ in the Desert. And it's off the main road. There's a sign there. This is on the west side of Ghost Ranch. And you just drive back in there on this road, and there's all kind of places you can stop and get these kinds of views, the cottonwoods and the rocks and everything there. And there really is an active monastery back there. They have a gift shop. And other than that, though, they're pretty private. So you don't wander around in the facility a whole lot or anything like that, but you know, there's people there and you talk to them. So, other place that we like is Grand Mesa in western Colorado. And if you've ever been there, it's pretty interesting. It really is. It's like 500 square miles or something like that. It's the largest flat top mountain in the world. There's campgrounds there that we stayed at, Jumbo Campground and Jumbo Lake. And then there's Mesa Lakes right there, all together in this one little location. But there's other places you can go and hike around. There's hikes that you can go to. And we had independently, several locals said, don't come here before September because the mosquitoes will carry you away, which we thought was kind of funny. But this is the view there at the little lake by the campground. You know, so when we went there the year we went there, it was pretty gorgeous. This is another lake there. There's several lakes there. And I saw this guy in his canoe, and I had the reflections, and I had a longer lens, and I took this photo. He got around to me. He was fishing, He's just paddling very gently around in his canoe. He got over to me and I said, "Hey, come here a minute." He goes, "What?" And I was like, "I got a photo of you. I'd be glad to send it to you if you got an email address." He gave me his email address and I sent him a couple photos, the files, so he could print them out himself. Photos. But this is the kind of stuff you can find here at the lake. This is the same lake looking another way, another direction. I like the reflections in the lake. I thought it was pretty cool. There's also all kinds of little side roads that you can take there. And this is one of them that was really cool. I got the little sun star there in between the tree trunks. Mike gave you a really good description of how to do that. You don't want the whole sun. You want just a little bit of the sun peeking through, and allows you to get that kind of an effect. This is the same road, different angle. This is one of the trails we went hiking on, and there it is. It looks like it was a little overcast that day, but you know, not bad. This is back at the campground, just looking across the road, and had all these different colors in here. I purposely left that evergreen in there for color contrast. Got a little bit of everything going on here. That was the fun thing about this kind of a photo, is that I like. It's not just, I mean, they're all good, you know, whatever you do is fine. It's what you like. This just happens to be what I like. This is a jumbo campground at Mesa Lakes in Grand Mesa. So pretty cool place. And there's a lot of other things you can see up there, but they're all, you know, you got to do some driving, but it's all up on the mesa itself. It's a lot of fun. I think Mike and Bob both talked about the issues with, you know, getting photos and some of the technical things. The thing I would reiterate is don't limit yourself. Don't self-limit. There's all kinds of compositions. Really think about the compositions, what you can do, and what's there, what floats your boat, and capture that. Using a polarizing filter is something that can really help, especially in bright sunlight, because of the highlights off of yellow leaves and blowing out the red channel. If you just look at your picture on the back of your camera, you know, it's pretty small, even if 3.5 inch or whatever, it's really pretty small, and you really aren't going to see the details. And you get it on your computer screen and you're looking at it, it's going to look weird, and that's because the details are gone, because the red channel is blown out. So you really, really, really need to pay attention to that. And using a tripod is important, I think, because it helps you with your compositions. Because you can sit there with a tripod, you can set the composition the way you want it, and then you can decide, well, do I like that or do I not like that? And you can change it really easy. It's not that difficult. So with all that fast talking and flipping screens really quickly, that's the end for me. So I will stop my sharing, turn it back to whoever would like it. Mike, up to you. And I guess we got some questions.
Yeah, we had a couple questions. Lori asked about your settings on one of your shots, and I don't remember which one it was. It was one of the New Mexico pictures. And then a question just came in. Chris is asking if most of your captures are single shots or HDR.
They're mostly single shots. There's a few HDR in there. When I went to a Nikon D800, I was 36 megapixels and the ability to really capture a pretty wide tonality range. I really backed off of taking HDR a lot, because it just didn't need to. And the processing tools got to be a whole lot better. That's one of the things that it's easy to kind of lose perspective on is that how much better our tools have gotten for processing and what you can pull out of a raw file is pretty amazing.
Mhm.
So, you know, I mostly don't do HDR. I would do it on occasion, but not a lot. What somebody else, UV range.
Does anybody have any other questions for any of us or all of us?
Jump in. Yeah, yeah. There's a question about using a polarizer. Yeah, they don't always work, you know, because the way a polarizer functions is you've got to be at the right angle to the sunlight. Um, so that is absolutely true. It doesn't always work.
And, and if I could, the other part of that is if you're using wide angle, you try
Oh,
to use a
right.
polarizer. It's not the vignetting so much, but you end up with a dark streak that goes through the middle of the picture or some part of the picture, and then the rest of the picture is not affected by the polarizer. And that looks pretty bad, and there's just absolutely no way to fix that. So if
Right.
you're shooting wide, pretty much not shooting with a polarizer.
Good point.
You get that big dark blotch in the middle of your sky or in a corner, and that's typical with anything wider than 24 millimeter.
Rick, I use, for my black and white, I use Topaz as a really good black and white plug-in. And I use that, but you can do it in Nik also.
I use the Nik Silver Effects almost all the time. They both do a good job.
I guess I'm in the minority. I use the black and white adjustment layer in Photoshop.
Well, there you go. It just goes to prove you there's more than one way to skin that cat. You know.
That's
just-
right.
Not that I'm not suggesting anybody should skin any cats. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, you don't want PETA on your ass.
Yeah, so you just had 3 different answers to that question, and all of them work. So.
Yeah. And I agree with Jim that Breakthrough makes some really good filters, and they're not super expensive.
That's right. Yeah, I will just say that I had a Stingray 10-stop filter that just started giving me fits. And I finally got off the dime, and I got a hold of them, and I sent them the samples of the photos. I had to mail the filter back to them, and they sent me a brand new one. And they said, you know, the vintage of yours, you've had it a while, but the coatings we used on our filters weren't very good then, and we have really good ones now. So we're just going to send you a new one. I'm like, thank you.
This is Breakthrough?
That was Stingray.
Oh, Stingray. Okay.
I had a different experience with Breakthrough, which was that they sent me a filter from Denver, and like 5 days later, it was still sitting in the post office at Denver, and I got a hold of them. I'm like, do you know what's going on? What's happening? And they're like, we have no idea. And so they sent me another one. And they sent me one on express mail. It got to me, and it had in it an envelope with return address and everything on it all set up. So if that first one ever showed up, I could just mail it right back to them. And I said, no problem. Then about the day they mailed it to me, the second one, the first one went to Billings, Montana or something. No, I could track it. I could track it online. And it went to Billings, Montana, and then it went to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then it came to my house. And I got the first one after I got the second one. And I sent it back to them, and they got the first one back, and it was all cool. So, you know, that's how businesses stay in business. They have good customer service, not just good products, but good customer service. And I kudos to both of them.
Alvin, you don't really use a polarizer to prevent overexposure. I mean, that's not what a polarizer does. A polarizer is there to enrich colors and increase contrast. So it's not a tool for overexposure. I guess you could say you can get rid of haziness with it, but it's really only effective in direct sunlight, bright sunny day with, when you're at 90 degrees from the light source. You can use it to eliminate reflections. I'll use it sometimes on my macro shots. If there's a little bit of reflection, I'll use it for that. But it's not actually something used for overexposure. You just have to set your exposure properly to prevent overexposure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes you can just get used to seeing how light's bouncing off things. This isn't fall pictures, but I photographed the art on the street installations for the downtown partnership and the murals. If I am photographing a mural, I typically have to use a polarizer because the sun is hitting the paint that's on the building, and you can see it, and then you put the polarizer on and you turn it and you can see that excess light just go away, and that increases your saturation.
Alvin is clarifying he meant for the sky. Alvin, if that's the case, if you're talking about like a high contrast scene, you're either going to have to use like a graduated neutral density filter on the front of your lens to even out the exposure, or take multiple photos and then process as an HDR photo.
Yeah, and you can do a lot to fix skies in post with the dehaze slider in Lightroom or Camera Raw.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tools for that. Dawn asked, what's the favorite lens to use, zoom or prime? All my lenses are zoom lenses except for my 15 millimeter wide angle and my 100 millimeter macro. I think the days of people saying zoom lenses are inferior to prime lenses, I think are gone. I don't think that that's really the case anymore with modern high quality lenses. I think that they're all a good quality zoom lens is going to be as good as a good quality prime lens. I will probably get a lot of blowback on that, but I think that nowadays there's not much difference. And I'm a big fan. The only reason why my 15 millimeters is a prime, because they just don't make very many decent zoom lenses that go back that far, that are not outrageously expensive and super heavy. And the macro lens is a specific lens, so that's why that's not a zoom lens. It's hard to make something that focuses the 1-to-1 and will be that will be a zoom lens. And yeah, I did use a lot of those pictures I took were with the macro lens, but not all of them. Some were taken with like a 24-to-105 zoom lens.
Yeah, Chris Berry is asking about tripods.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great question. I got lucky in that my first Manfrotto tripod, which was really not tall enough for me, and I'm 6'1", my wife took it, and it gave me a sufficient reason to go out and buy one that was the right size. And that's probably the most important thing I would say about a tripod, is get one that's the right size for you. There's tons of good ones out there, and there's tons of junky ones out there. And yeah, it's nice to have them all carbon fiber and all that, and mine is. It makes a difference in the weight if you're carrying it and hiking with it, and they do make a lot of nice travel tripods or hiking tripods these days. But make sure you get one that's the right size for you.
Yeah, I'm a short guy, so my tripod's a lot shorter than Jim's is.
Yeah, and it's a lot less expensive too.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird.
I'm definitely gonna recommend, if you can afford it, and by all means, if you have to save a little extra, it is well worth it to get a carbon fiber tripod. Not only is it lighter, but for a lighter tripod than an equivalent aluminum tripod, you get more stability out of it. In other words, aluminum transmits vibration, so you have to get a heavier one to keep vibration from getting to your camera and shaking your picture, whereas a carbon fiber absorbs vibration, so you don't have to get as heavy. Not only is the carbon fiber lighter, but you can get a smaller, lighter tripod that's made out of carbon fiber and get the same stability out of kind of a much heavier aluminum tripod. I've got an aluminum tripod at my place in Phoenix, and after being down there for a month carrying the thing around, I can't wait to get home and pick up my carbon fiber one, which is just as sturdy, but weighs a whole lot less. So especially if you're going to be hiking out in the woods, by all means, if you can swing it, I would recommend it. Or if you got to wait a little longer and save your pennies a little longer, get the carbon fiber if you can at all.
Yep, I agree.
Any other questions? Well, I'll add to the question about favorite lenses. I use my 24 to 105 a lot for landscape stuff, but it's like one of the most asked questions I get. Like when I do a workshop, people say, "Well, what lens should I use?" It really all depends on what you want to shoot. So if you have the ability to drive somewhere and you don't have to carry all of your lenses with you, bring as many lenses as you can. Because then if you're doing a variety of stuff, like we all showed you a lot of different things, like wide vista type photos, others that you just zoom in and take pictures of groups of trees. And then, Bob had some macro stuff. So as Jim mentioned, don't limit yourself. So if you only bring one or two lenses, then you're limiting yourself. If you have to carry everything on your back, then yeah, bring a zoom lens that's going to cover most of what you think you're going to photograph. So my 24 to 105 is basically my walk around lens. I have a 15 to 30 for wide stuff and astro stuff, and that lens creates really awesome sun flares. Not sun flares, but like the starburst effect for the sun. And then I've used my 70 to 200 and even my 100 to 400 to zoom in and get groups of trees. So, it just runs the full gamut.
If you want to learn how to be creative, go out there with one lens and get all the shots you can, and learn how to. You'll learn how to be real creative on how to get your shots if you go out, say, with just your 24 to 105 or just your 15 to 30 or something, or whatever. And boy, you'll learn real quick how to make do with little. And I think it actually helps make you a better photographer sometimes to go out there with not the whole bag full of lens, but just pick one and just go with that.
Yeah, well, if you want to learn how to use a particular lens, then just bring that one with you, and then that's you'll be forced to use that lens, and like Bob said, be as creative as you can. So it works for a lot of things. It's one of the things that I equate to fishing. They say in fishing, if you want to learn how to use a particular lure, only put that lure in your tackle box and that's it, and fish with it all day. So if you want to learn how one of your lenses performs, then just take that with you and use it the whole time that you're out.
Dawn is asking, she has shoots camera. What's the best aperture setting to use? F11. Dawn, it doesn't matter what brand camera you have or what brand lens you have. A lot of people will tell you that f8 is the sweet spot for most lenses, and I'm kind of, the phrase is f8 and be there, and that's where I start. And my camera, when I take it out of the bag, except for f8. But other than that, you want to use the aperture that gets you the effect that you're looking for.
And there is a whole concept. It's called hyperfocal distance, which is and there are apps out there that you can use that help you determine that. And they're interesting because you can put in your camera, the lens you're using, and then you can run through a bunch of f-stops, and it will tell you, where the focal distance should be to get as much of it in focus as you can possibly get. And the general rule of thumb is to focus on something 1/3 into your picture, so that the foreground and everything out past that, the middle ground and the background, will all be in focus, if that's what you're trying to accomplish. But look up the whole concept about hyperfocal distance. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, back in the day when lenses actually had focusing scales on them, you could actually figure out hyperfocal distance. They've taken that out of most lenses. But like Jim said, there are a lot of good apps for that out there.
You didn't need these fancy newfangled apps. You just needed to learn how to use the scale on your lens.
Well, back then a portable phone was something that had two miles of cable coming out the back of it.
And a battery pack that you had to carry.
Yeah. Patricia, I'm glad that you're using your Bogan for weightlifting. Bogan tripods are their aluminum tripods are great tripods. And I had Bogan, and they make great stuff, but boy, their aluminum tripods are heavy and they weigh a ton. But they're damn good tripods. It's just a matter of how much you plan on. If you're using it in a studio, yeah, get an aluminum one. But boy, if you want to take it out in the field, that's a lot of weight to carry.
Yeah, I have my heavy bogan that I've had for 20 years, and I've carried it up plenty of mountain trail. I'm smarter now, but I don't do as much hiking as I used to do.
Cool.
And sorry for my dog squeaking. Now he's just laying here being quiet when I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have any other questions for us?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, thank you guys. And we will, if nobody has anything else, we will see you next Monday for something. I don't know yet what it is. And
Fine.
and then I will probably post this recording on YouTube. I'll share the link. And Patricia's asking, of all those mentioned, what are your favorite location? What is
The
your
one with the one with the best color.
The one I happen to be at that point in time. That's my
There you go.
favorite.
Yeah, the one I can actually get to and enjoy.
Mhm.
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, just like what lens should I bring?
All of them.
And the answer's the same, all of them.
All of
All
them,
the locations and all the lenses.
They're all
Just-
great.
You know, it goes back to that thing that the answer to every question in photography is it depends.
Hmm.
So
This is for true. Very
yeah,
good.
but I think as far as locations, part of the fun, if you're an adventurous type person, is exploring. So go to different places and then find your own favorite. You know, like I know Jim likes to go to the San Juans, and I have other places that I like to go to, and Bob probably has, you know, other places as well. So it really, if a place really resonates with you, it's might not be the same place that somebody else likes.
And there are places that were on my presentation today that were not on that presentation a year ago because I found new places.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Always new places. Always new places.
Yeah. So yeah, go out there and do some exploring, and hopefully you all get a chance to get out at least 1 or 2 days in the coming weeks to get some photos. And you know, if conditions aren't ideal, just do your best to enjoy your time. I mean, any day out in the mountains is a good day.
You bet.
I'm going to be lazy and just follow Jim around this summer or this fall.
Okay. Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
With that, good night.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Have a good night.